So this is an Al Jazeera video that covers the Israeli reaction and possibly subject to getting arrested after they spammed their war crimes on social media. So let's check this out.
It took 15 months of its war on Gaza, but the Israeli military has finally figured out the obvious. Having your soldiers posting evidence of war crimes on social media and celebrating them comes with consequences, legal ones.
The rebel, this suffering will continue for decades, not just years, decades.
Despite all the evidence, much of it posted by its own soldiers on social media, Israel still insists it's not committing war crimes, let alone a genocide. But more and more countries see past the propaganda. Like Brazil, where a judge...
Okay, I don't like that framing. I think that a judge in Brazil, judges who can operate independently, ordering the police to investigate after a complaint from lawyers, does not mean that Brazil is seeing through this. It just means that one judge complied with the law in Brazil, okay? So I think this is overstating what actually happened.
The judge recently ordered that an Israeli soldier on holiday there be investigated for his role in Gaza. The Israelis got him out before charges could be laid.
Yeah, so, and I believe now he will go over their reaction to that.
The case produced a panicky response in Israeli news studios because of its implications.
Argentina, Chile, Brazil, מדינות שיש להם סמכות שיפוט אוניברסלית ומאוד קל.
Israeli television. I believe this is a state television network as well. Like listing the countries that have universal jurisdiction to warn their soldiers never to go there. Amazing.
וכמובן תאילנד יעד פופולרי שמחפשים שם משרד עורכי דין, וזה כנראה ילך ויגבר, אבל...
Army chiefs then declared that from now on, the identities of Israeli soldiers will be hidden from the world, their faces blurred in interviews, plus a ban on soldiers posting their exploits on social media.
It's absolutely crazy that it took them more than a year to do that. Like the ban on soldiers, like hey soldiers, can you not post your war crimes on social media? Like even in a military that was not committing war crimes, you would think that, hey, don't post any of this on social media would be a normal thing that you would tell them, not right? But I guess for Israel, it's not. You know, just post your TikToks blowing up children. Normal. Does this sound like the behavior of a country, a government, people that are confident that they're not committing war crimes and crimes against humanity? Like, we're going to blur the faces of all of our soldiers in every interview. Don't travel to any country that can prosecute you, even possibly. Even Thailand, they said. Like, don't go to fucking Thailand. Like, man, no Israelis in Thailand? That sounds like a fucking boon for Thailand. Congratulations! Like, everyone knows how problematic the Israelis are in Thailand, second only to Australians. Spain as well is another country of universal jurisdiction that may be complicated by its membership in the EU. I'm not exactly sure how that'll work. Like, specifically telling soldiers, do not travel to these countries where you might be able to be arrested for your crimes. We're going to hide your identity and, don't post any evidence of what you're doing in Gaza. Does that sound like the behavior of people who know that they're not committing crimes, of people who are faithful in their own innocence? It does not to me.
Too little, much too late. Soldiers have already provided mountains of online evidence for war crimes investigators, which, as a former Israeli army chief...
Precisely, and this is why it's absolutely fucking absurd that I think aside from one guy in Morocco, no one has been arrested. Let me check. Okay, apparently not. I see a bunch of articles about saying that a Morocco arrested an Israeli soldier and then no follow-up. And then like 2 months later, Morocco extradited someone to Israel after a request from Israel. It's like a different person. So I'm not exactly sure if this has actually happened. I don't know. There's nothing about real proceedings against him. I don't really believe this. I don't know. Morocco is a normalization state. I don't believe that they would do it. It's a normalization state with pervasive monarchy control. It doesn't have a remotely independent judiciary to do anything like that. So I really doubt it. I would assume they announce an investigation or an arrest of this guy for show and then let him go afterwards without actually talking about it to the media, just to placate the population, which is very anti-Israel. As far as I know, no actual real arrests have taken place, and that Morocco story is the closest thing to one that I have seen.
Chief of Staff pointed out is not the only evidence out there.
The soldiers should not be sharing all kinds of videos and comments because even if they stop, it won't help them. Does this sound like people who know they are innocent? These people know what they're fucking doing. Israelis know what they're fucking doing.
אבל זה לא יעזור להם, הפוליטיקאים ידברו על זה שבעצם אנחנו מתכוונים לדלל או לנקות את האוכלוסייה.
He just outright said it's on Israeli TV, Ynet. I believe that's the biggest Israeli media outlet, the most popular one. It's a war crime. This guy, that's what we're doing is a war crime, but we need to hide it. Dude, they know what they're fucking doing. Never believe that they don't.
The Israeli news outlet Ya'alon was speaking on, Ynet, has since posted an online guide for Israeli soldiers on how to avoid arrest over...
Holy shit. The most moral army in the world needs a guide for how not to be arrested for war crimes when they go to like Thailand or something. That's insane. It's actually crazy as well that like being a member of the genocidal IDF is like so normalized in Israeli society that they would just print this in a normal news outlet. Not like a news outlet dedicated to military personnel or an internal memo. It's just in like a normal Israeli fucking publication because the spectrum of people in Israel who could be guilty of war crimes is like half the fucking population.
Overseas and what to do if that happens.
Their own soldiers have been taking to social media, going on Instagram, going on TikTok, and posting videos of war crimes.
Laugh.
So part of the reason why Israel is in this crisis is because their own soldiers have been going onto social media and broadcasting their own war crimes.
The fact that there has been an article in one of the mainstream Israeli web portals saying, here's a guide for reservists about how to protect yourself when you go abroad, so you don't fall under threat of prosecution. This is a kind of mind-boggling thing that Israelis didn't really ever have to worry about, but those kinds of efforts to prosecute.
I mean, I think it's really interesting as well that like it doesn't even occur to them to not travel after doing genocide and posting evidence of it. Like it didn't even occur to them like, you know, you don't have to go to Thailand to do sex tourism. Did you know that? You don't have to go to Brazil to, I don't know, whatever the fuck Israelis do in Brazil, but it can't be good. Like they think the world is theirs. Israelis think the entire world is theirs. So it never would have occurred to them without articles like this that, you know, maybe you should just stay home. Maybe you don't need to travel. Maybe you don't need to do tourism. It's like such an Israeli thing for them to go and treat other countries like shit that they just have to do it. And it never even occurs to them that it might be a bad idea to do it after doing genocide.
Prosecute them have only been possible when those very same soldiers themselves have incriminated themselves in war crimes.
There's been an explicit push to delete social media posts, certain things you shouldn't say in public, which is rather startling because instead of saying, if you think that...
Arrest warrant in Brazil, if you made this bitter mistake, don't fly. The mistake being uploading videos of you committing war crimes to your fucking social media. Dude, that's crazy.
They're war crimes, you shouldn't partake in them, you should refuse. The push is, this is how you should hide them.
Have you uploaded videos from Gaza? Dude, how many articles on this have they published in the Israeli mainstream media? Does this seem like a normal society to you guys? Like, this is fucking Starship Troopers, the country. Unbelievable.
The shame isn't translated into taking action in refusing.
Haaretz podcast, you know, the famous supposedly left-leaning outlet Haaretz, they had one as well.
To partake in the genocide, but rather to sort of be ashamed that the world sees us in this position. We should hide it better.
Other changes in the Israeli media
To them, it's not, let's stop the war crimes, it's let's hide the war crimes better.
space includes some of the terminology now seeping into the debate. That ex-army chief of staff, Moshe Ya'alon, set off shockwaves in early December by openly calling Israel's tactics in Gaza ethnic cleansing.
I like how this guy is like lauded for this, saying the obvious, like a year later, and using a watered-down term like ethnic cleansing just because he's Israeli. And he himself was also a commander in the IDF. Who knows how many babies he's massacred with his own hand and on his orders.
As if emboldened by Ya'alon, a collection of center-left voices has since...
Center-left voices. I hate this framing. I hate the lauding of Zionists. Like, they do like less than the bare minimum, and we're supposed to accept it. We're supposed to commend their bravery, give them fucking points for it.
Followed his
and they're special.
Lead. Some of them injecting another taboo term, genocide, into the discussion.
Who cares about discussion in Israel itself? We should be ignoring this stuff except to talk about how insane it is, honestly. This is not good framing, and I mean, it shows the limits of Al Jazeera.
International audiences have been hearing such terminology for months, a problem the Israeli government is now spending more money on. It has made a dramatic increase to its Hasbara, or propaganda budget, allocating another $150 million to target the foreign press, social media platforms, and college campuses, treating the symptoms rather than curing the disease.
Welcome to
I
Israel.
don't think the start.
Think about this. Like, whenever you see like the most fervent pro-Israel influencers, you know, your Drew Pavlus, they are absolutely getting paid. If not directly by some organization that receives money from the Israeli state, by like a Zionist organization that just supports Zionism and, you know, covertly pays people to post pro-Israel social media shit. There's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of incentive to do so.
Of improving Israel's image is to write a nice message, to trot out the right people who look earnest in conversation abroad.
The thing that the Israeli government wants more than anything is to bring back our people.
I don't dismiss them.
That's so funny. Like, we want to bring the hostages home. You know what the best way to bring the hostages home is to bomb and blow up like every single building where they could possibly be. You know what the best way to ensure the health of the hostages is? To prevent basic imports of food into Gaza, to make sure that the hostages, who also eat the same food that everyone else does, don't have food. It's obvious that they don't want the hostages alive. That's why they've killed tons of them, and most of the dead hostages have almost certainly been killed by Israel, by Israeli bombings. Because if Israel is massacring Palestinian civilians, you can bet they're also bombing Israeli hostages.
Necessity of communication, but it has to start from a genuine change of reality and political
Oh my God, fucking Zionist framing.
policy.
In terms of
We just need them to change their policy. No, this state, what's happened? This is like saying we just need to see the Nazis stop the Holocaust, and then we can have a nice little chat with them afterwards. No. We need to fight this and end it. We need to end the very ideology, the very state, the entire system that causes this and that will cause it again. If all that you do is like, oh, it's the Netanyahu government, we need to replace them with a government that's anti-genocide.
the amount of money, $150 million increase to what they were already going to spend on public diplomacy. It just underscores the extent of the crisis here. You can't put lipstick on a pig, and no amount of money spent on public diplomacy is going to be able to erase all of these images that people have been seeing now on social media.
The circular relation.
Though social media platforms sure are trying to stop us from seeing them, aren't they? You might have heard about Mark Zuckerberg, like Trump got elected and Zuckerberg's like, okay, all Meta platforms are now going to be right-wing and we're going to delete anything anti-Israel, blah, blah, blah. What a loser. But I mean, pro-Israel censorship is the norm. They always try to find excuses for it. Like, you know, if you post a video like of public journalistic interest, like an Israeli soldier shooting someone, for example, they will delete that on the basis that it's violent content and they'll ban you for it. This is how it's always been. They just come up with any sort of excuse to get rid of anti-Israel content. But I mean, yeah, that's a good video from Al Jazeera. I mean, good. I wouldn't call it good. I'd call it okay. You know, they cover what needs to be covered, but as is usual with conciliatory media, even largely anti-Zionist media like Al Jazeera, they still give way too much credence to sort of labor Zionist, left Zionist narratives, and the idea that it's just Netanyahu rather than something core to Israeli society as a whole.